We are in a film school, and as we are always looking forward for new talent and new challenges and new setups. And you, all of the three of you, have a lot of experience in growing generations of filmmakers, and by now also being able to see how the work is for them as it was for us when we started. And I'm not talking only about directors, I'm talking also about the other essential people in making of a film, from film producers to DOPs, editors, and the whole setup. What do you think today are the biggest challenges for someone that is starting the career, or else said, the biggest opportunities? Who would like to start?
No. Okay.
It's working, I think it's working.
Yeah. We just got a wonderful tour of your school some minutes ago, and I felt so, it's complex. First of all, I'm really happy that you have such a wonderful school, that you have all the tools to experiment, to try yourself. You have the space, the security, you have this hub. Please really be aware of that, because when someone is student, the normal state is everything is shit, teachers are idiots, and everything sucks. You are very privileged. I say it because I come from Budapest, where we had a tiny but quite efficient and successful film and theater school, which we are now in October, so it was exactly 2 years ago that after a long fight where somehow we were punished constantly by the government, the academic autonomy of the school was taken away. So 2 years ago I resigned as a professor, as a protest with many others. And the whole school, all the infrastructure, all the accreditations, everything became the property of a private fund, whose members are unchangeable, they are not elected by the community, etc. And there I would see our wonderful, lovely, but very lazy students to stand up. They occupied the school. That was a 72 days long occupation, and not just occupation, but it was a sort of learning republic with tons and tons of wonderful art projects in the town in front of the school. And we got many wonderful support from the town, just the food they brought, and so on and so on. So, to your question, what are the possibilities? As filmmakers, we are not writers. We can sit at home and that's it. We have to interact with the environment we are in, but there are always many ways, and it depends on us how we interact. If we sit down and cry, or if we form a learning republic. The name of our university was SFR, so we founded free SFR with no money, but it's functioning. And yeah, in my life I met very different, difficult phases, but somehow from this experience, for example, this last one, all of us, we brought away not the loss, but rather the warmth and the joy that these students showed to themselves, how powerful they are, how strong, artistically strong they are, and how much they are able to decide. And I think that's filmmaking is about, in every branch, to make decisions. And these, one by one, these decisions will carve your career.
What's the situation in Poland?
Well, it's hard to follow on such a very personal testimony. Thank you for that, Indiko. Of course, I don't want to really get into politics, because politics is a very divisive matter right now. I have my very strong personal views on what's happening. But kind of answering your question about what are the chances, what are the opportunities, and what are the threats, I think Indiko touched on something very important. I'm the youngest person here, and I really started producing. I never went to film school because I felt that this is not a place where I can grow. I wasn't inspired by the people who were teaching there. And when I started, even though it's not that far ago, because it's only 17 years, I started very young. I felt that what I missed was maybe not leaders, but people I could really model myself, who were like me. What I mean is women, film professionals, female professionals who are producers, who are active, who are, there was only Eva Pyszyńska, and that was pretty much it. So I think the big change right now, and the biggest opportunity, is that we really have much bigger diversity, and we really, this is what I also tell my students, we really have an option to choose who we want to be as artists, as filmmakers, as storytellers, and we have many options. Who do we want to team up with? Because, as you said, it's all about human connection and finding your tribe, so to speak. And I think the biggest challenge in all this plethora of options of working for VOD platforms, or public TV, or private sector, or doing film, or art house, or genre, or whatever, documentaries, fiction, animation, I think the biggest challenge is really to keep your integrity and to constantly remind yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I telling this story? Whose perspective I'm sharing or I'm trying to convey? And I think for me, but also for younger people, I feel that's the biggest struggle, really, because when there are so many options on the table, it's very easy to choose the easy way. And again, a little asterisk, I don't think like going after money is an easy way. Sometimes it can be a very, very difficult way. So it's not about economical aspect at all. It's more about, I strongly believe that storytelling is a responsibility, and it's also a responsibility towards ourselves. Because at the end of the day, the art we are making, or the entertainment we are making, is going to reach out audiences, and is going to either inspire them or leave them with some sort of emotion or feeling, or maybe with some idea. And I find it essential that we are responsible for what we are sharing with our audience. So I think this is the biggest challenge, and you can put that in any context, artistic, political, etc.
Thank you.
Well, it's seen from the Italian point of view.
Yeah, from the Western point of view.
From the Western, yes. Well, I don't know where we stand right now. I mean, we just had elections as well, And we still have to see what the results will lead to.
As I said to Graciela at the breakfast, welcome to the club.
Exactly. So thank you very much. I'm very happy to be in the club. For the moment, everybody is fighting, so we don't know what the final orientation of the new government that has not been set up yet will be. I don't know. I have also been told in a very comforting tone by people who understand the situation. You know, the creativity springs out from the dark ages. You know, so we hope they will not be that dark to inspire that kind of creativity. But I think that's what it's all about. I mean, keeping our creativity alive. And if not in one place, it will explode somewhere else, and we have to find a way to take it somewhere else, no? And I really believe in sharing. You were talking about inspiring and growing new talent, and I find that combining new talent with more experienced talent is something that always brings positive results. I was talking to John at breakfast. I have a duplex life right now, leading a life that I love. Traveling and going places where I am called to coordinate, to moderate, to organize, places where people meet. And another life which is at home, behind my screen, and then reading projects and evaluating for regional funds. And practically giving money with a great responsibility to the projects that I think are worthy. So the part that I love is, of course, going around. I was in Lisbon 3-4 days ago, and they had set up a wonderful container with experienced producers and very young producers, emerging producers from all over Europe. And they had invited some very interesting people, but they didn't know what to do to put them together. So I invented 2 days of confrontations, meetings on what shall we talk about. And we ended up the last day talking about the producer's relationship with the director, which is something that I have not heard so much discussion about this, and how
we are talking it was happening in Doc Lisboa.
It was happening in
Doc Lisboa. It was more
Lisboa.
about documentaries or
it was more, but some of the experienced producers also had a lot of experience in fiction films as well. So it was also starting to work on series for the platforms. So how does the relationship change? And I think there was really a very, very positive debate coming up, and of course putting on the ground things that are so sensitive as well now, because I firmly believe in the creative figure of the producer. The producer is not, as you know, we all know, the producer is not a line producer. The producer is one who takes responsibility, who accompanies the director in the choices, who sometimes contrasts the director, has a vision necessarily, and of course in the end is responsible for bringing home the whole dream of the director. So it's such an inspiring profession, and I'm really happy myself to have come back to it, because I'm working as a delegate producer now with a director that I really like in Italy. So I think really it's about creativity, it's about community. It is, of course, carbon footprint we were talking about before, Matthias, is so important, but it's so easy to travel nowadays. But we need to go to places where people can get together and find inspiration in each other, because I think that's really, apart from governments and laws and whatever they can impose and closures. But if you hadn't been inspired and wanting to continue a dream, there would have been no occupation. So we need dream drivers, and this is what you are all here for, I think. We need to drive what is important for us, because otherwise, what is it? Looking at projects behind the screen and evaluating, you need to find the creativity in these projects as well. Otherwise, it's
Yeah, I'm taking from here 2 words: creativity and community. And I think that these are really the core thing for what we are doing and our chance of survival. But, I was thinking while you were talking about the challenges that you have in your countries and what's going on over there, that we always complain and say how miserable we are until we listen to the other. And see that, basically we are fortunate for the time being, or in other senses. And I think that this is also something that is crucial to try to find or to look towards the opportunity, not to step back towards the threat. But following on that, and speaking so much about creativity, this is a huge debate, and it's not only here. Yeah, we do have this problem that somehow even our authority, the film center, through the voice of its head, is expressing the fact that our directors are doing films for festivals, and they are not looking into the commercial part of it. And that's something that, okay, here it's this debate, but also we were listening to the speech of Martin Scorsese in New York Film Festival, where he was claiming that nowadays not even the film critics are looking to anything else but numbers, how much a film sells, what kind of presence in the market, in the box office it has, and the content, it's not valued anymore almost at all. So this is valid, as we can see also in America. And nevertheless, in France 2 weeks ago, it was a huge conference debating the same thing, the fact that the authority, the public institutions are more and more oriented themselves towards the commercial side of the business. And it was a very nice paraphrase made by Said Ben Said on André Malraux quote, saying that yes, cinema is an industry, but it's also an art. And on this respect, I'm really shifted, because of course I want that the films that we are making to be seen by as much audience as possible. But where are we going? Because we can't look only into the audience. And we can't compare, and we can't have the public funding looking into only the economical side and not into the development, the research, the laboratory part of it. And how can we navigate into this? Yeah.
Yes, I have a very, very strong opinion about that, because it's been a few years now that I'm hearing this argument about the box office and the revenues and all that, and being, you know, a very straightforward producer who's producing for 15 plus years. Of course, I should be the one who says box office is king or queen, and we should only look at that. But I think that when it comes to how the market is right now, how the market is structured right now, we really should diverse public funds from private sector. Because of course in the private sector, it's all about outreach, about having more subscribers, about, you know, giving the subscribers what they want, or something they don't know they want, what they want. Whilst the public sector is trying to run in the race with Netflixes of the world, which from my perspective makes absolutely no sense. Because of course, I have the experience of working with Netflix, and I have to say, that was the best professional experience I have ever had in my life. But then again, I also know that platforms like Netflix are looking for very, very specific content. And not all of the films I'm making will be suitable for that particular platform or any other platform. And this is where I see a massive role of public funds, who from my perspective should not measure their success by the fact of how many revenues the films make, or how many big directors end up in big festivals. I think the measurement of the success of the funds should be how many talents they have discovered and how many talents they help to grow. Because personally, I feel that no one else on the market will support an experimental, first-time documentary feature, because it will never make any money. That's it, And that's not the point. The point is for the team to learn, for some interesting topic to be discovered, and that's where the obligation of public funds lie, from my perspective. And as a producer, I'm super concerned that I'm observing this, as I called it, a race between public funds and private sector about, who will get, more successful films. Because first of all, after pandemic, I don't know how in Romania, but in Poland, cinema is dead. In terms of numbers, I produced a family adventure comedy that was super successful, and it had 3 times less the numbers that it would have had if it was released in 2019. So that's the reality we are living in. And the film I produced for Netflix, it was an LGBTQ-themed crime story, and I purposefully followed the Netflix path because I knew that if this very author-driven, almost art house genre is, first of all, it probably would not have been financed through the traditional structure, so the platform was a natural choice. But secondly, if that film was produced in a traditional model, it would probably end up in 3 or 5 art house cinemas in big cities, and it would have been a niche film for a niche audience. And once it was released on Netflix, it was, I don't think I can disclose the specific data, but it was seen by several million people. And we got messages from San Francisco, queer community, through Mexico, Lebanon, to Tokyo. Texting us about how...
Is it still available?
It's still available. It's called Operation Hyacinth. But that's what I see as a biggest challenge, that if public funds end up in this race of choosing the films that are only sellable or only big names because they guarantee, access to A-class festivals, we will end up, like in our society, with this massive disproportion between, the top one, a massive void, and then 90%. And this is something I really, really would like to see happen in the film industry, because I believe there are so many stories to be told, and we as independent producers are responsible to find the right way to finance this story. And some of these stories are perfectly suited for VOD platforms. Some of these stories are, let's say, more challenging, but that shouldn't, they shouldn't be discriminated against in terms of the finances. So, last sentence, that's why I see that public funds should really embrace the idea they are making unsuccessful films that are unsuccessful in the box office, but are maybe discovery of a new talent, or are talking about a topic that has not yet been touched upon, and the film just had to be
discovering new talents that maybe for the next one will break through together with a streamer. I was also wondering if you see a possible cooperation between the public institutions and the big players of today in terms of not only lobbying, but finding ways of crossing or reinforcing the local talent or the European talent, the co-productions, the things like that, like making the diplomatic but also concrete steps to have original content that has the local flavor, that I think that the audience in fact wants. Do you think that this is something possible? Have you seen something in your countries?
There's a big debate going on in Italy right now on what is an independent producer. Now, I'm coming to that, maybe jumping, but the fact is that many very good Italian production companies have been bought by foreign multinationals. So Italy set up a law for tax credit that was very much increased in the last year. So you can come to Italy and get 40% of what you spend there back in terms of tax relief now, and that has attracted both co-productions. Now we have this line producers, executive producers working in Italy that can apply for that amount of money, and a lot of foreign investors in terms of companies have come to Italy buying Italian production companies. So of course for Italian production companies that were in critical situations, it has been an enormous relief because they pay a lot of money. And so we have Fremantle, we have Banijay, now owning very Italian companies. So can you call them independent? Not really, no, because we're in the hands of the streamers now, of the big companies that are working for the worldwide rights of the films they make. I think it's getting more and more important, maybe not that national funds or governments cooperate to find a way, but the national funds really embrace the idea. I deeply agree with Joanna on what she was saying. I mean, we have discussed for ages the idea of the culture of exception. Now, culture is an exception in the world's trade laws and forums, and it should be protected. Culture is an index of the happiness of a country. Can we measure a country's well-being in that sense as well? We need to give food for thought, you know? And so we give it through what we have, the arms we have, and I think the governments have this enormous responsibility to keep part of the funds to nurture talent, to make the voices of the country grow. And this is very important. We should reach a point where I don't think we need to diversify. I mean, there are also local contents on Netflix that are quite remarkable. I've seen Italian things as well. They're well made. I very much believe, at least in Italy, I don't know how it is in your countries, but we need to work a lot on writing. We need screenwriters that know that they have to write and rewrite and not stick to traditional models, which is, unfortunately, that's what's happening with Netflix. So I hear of from massive production with scripts that are Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and then the turning points in film, you know?
And at a different speed.
And a different speed of writing, and these showrunners that are not really managing the whole industry. But reading the projects for the local regional funds, for example, I'm reading the timelines for the development. And they say, well, the development lasts 1 year, and when 1 year I have the treatment, and then I go to the script writing, and I give script writing, and then in 1 year it's done. We have first version, second version, that's it. Wait. Yes. And we need to learn how to write. And then from there, we can go on and make beautiful films that make sense. I mean, I would like you to tell us what was the adventure of Body and Soul. I mean, it's and Netflix, and now you're working on a series right now. So what's the difference from inside?
Well,
yes.
First of all, these streamers are changing very, very quickly as well, and they change their policies very quickly because they entered not so long ago to a playground which was already occupied, so all the kids which were playing in the sandbox till then were appalled because the new kids were quite aggressive. But then they slowly start to try to also to fit in, so they make also some very smart decisions and some very idiot decisions. meaning, for example, about local content. There was a big wave of small languages, different European countries. Let's produce local content, let's not be afraid of subtitles. And now, 2-3 months ago, it stopped. They don't need it anymore, or for the moment, who knows. I worked with ABOUT, and it was a very, very good experience. It had a stability, economic stability, and at the same time I had total creative freedom, but it's not the case of everyone. For Apple TV, which is the last newcomer, they, for example, I have a project with them. They told very clearly they are going for really, really mainstream blockbusters and absolutely art house things and not interested in the middle. Because they want to have a name and have money from the subscribers. So actually, from my teenage years, I hear that the cinema is definitely, that's the end, it's the last year. From next year, there won't be any cinema. I think it's worthwhile to think about the distribution, because even the big American films can't be, can't make profit if they wouldn't have this sort of worldwide distribution where whatever the film is, whatever they wrote about it, they just push it down the throats of everyone from South America to Siberia. So at home they are unable, even these films, these very mainstream films, to make profit. So I think you two just told the essence. These cultural institutions have to realize they are cultural institutions, and that's it, and not mix their role with something else. It is a sort of fear or shyness or insecurity, but they just have to define what is their role. And then I think these sort of smart decisions would be much more easy. And just jumping back to distribution, those who play with games know probably Steam, the Steam platform. I found it many years ago. I embedded it, and I thought for films they will make the same thing, where absolute mainstream is beside tiny indie games, games in work in progress. You can, in this humble bundle, just give some money to whoever with some friends are doing something. Perhaps it will be a game some days. They are sharing the same platform, and it's an absolutely viable economic model. Steam is making lots of money, so they are not in a ghetto of art house ghetto or niche, but it's like a bookshop, you know? In a bookshop, you can find poetry, so you don't think that it will be sold like Harry Potter, but it's great that it exists, and nobody expects from these books to be sold with the same amount.
Yeah, this is valid as long as you know where is the corner for poetry. Because if they are like just thrown in the same thing without any, in my opinion, any curatorial or direction in terms of, okay, I'm here, they have everything, it's a hypermarket of games or cinema, but I have to have some direction where to look for and how to discover things that I'm interested in, and I'm passing the mic to Joanna.
This is super important, and what Indika also said, and what you said, Anna, right now, because I think there is also a role of legislators, you know, and us as a community to lobby, because I feel that we as filmmakers, what I've noticed in the pandemic, and I've also been very active as a, let's say, industry activist, I've noticed that there's this certain generational community that at a certain age people are super forceful and they want to, I don't know if it's they lose it with age or with cynicism or with hitting the wall too many times. But I feel that as a community we are not strong enough, we're not lobbying enough for the solutions that are really profitable for all of us. I'm feeling that there's a lot of tribalization, like, you know, separate tribes, directors fighting for their stuff, producers for their stuff, writers for their stuff, rather than everybody taking a little step back and say, okay, let's accept what is the acceptable happy minimum for all of us so we can all thrive rather than grow at the cost of the other group. And this is what I'm seeing a lot of right now, that people in the industry are really very, you know, maybe it's because of the crisis or the pandemic or the economic situation, but people in the industry are really very kind of protective of their own business. And coming back to where I started, I feel that as a community, if we are not united, if we are not lobbying with the legislators, we will never have the benefit of laws that protect us. I mean, the legislators are there, and it can be done. You can tax VOD platforms, and you can, you know, and you can just openly negotiate with them and say, guys, you are making X amount of money from our market. We want 20% of that X amount of money to come back, so we can grow new talents that you can then suck in and make new films. You know, you will never grow new talents. We will do it for you. That's one thing. The second thing, of course, I'm going to sound really authoritarian right now, and I'm sorry for that. But second thing, and that was done in South Korea some time ago, they introduced a quota in cinemas. So you cannot screen Avengers from 8 a.m. till like 10 p.m. all day. You have to screen at a certain prime time slots. You have to screen European films, and it applies to all cinemas. So it's not like there's a small art house cinema that only plays our wonderful EFA month of European cinema, but there are big chains of cinemas that have to play these little European art house films at 6 p.m. And that's the point of visibility, because if you know, I had a wonderful conversation this summer with a guy. Sometimes I'm too fast to judge a book by a cover, and I'm looking at this guy. I was sailing with him, and he looked like this, you know, red-bird Viking that drinks beer and eats grilled meat. And I would never, ever expect him to watch anything except, you know, Avengers franchise. And we are on this boat sailing in the middle of the sea. It's midnight, and we start talking about who does what, and I'm saying I'm a filmmaker, and he says, yes, filmmaking. I saw this wonderful film, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I loved it. And I was like, okay. You know, how did that happen? You know, and then we started talking, and he, from a very early age, was interested in cinema, and he got exposed through his friends to great cinema, and now he is the one who is showing this difficult, maybe sometimes demanding, maybe sometimes not the type of a Friday evening movie films, to his friends, and he is the advocate for, let's say, a broader access to film, because sometimes 20 years ago he had an opportunity to see those films and encounter them. So I think we just have to really unite, work as a union of filmmakers,
Community again.
Exactly, and push on our legislators for the solutions that are working towards our benefit, and not in the benefit of individuals, but the whole of industry, which means all of us have to move. But I mean, if we don't do it, we will eventually die, group by group. You know, I know that you'll be hearing this for most of your life. I don't think cinema as a place will die. Maybe it will change, but storytelling, this is the essence. And if we really want to have opportunities to grow, to tell our stories, we really have to be much smarter than we are right now.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But I will follow on this. And I was thinking while you were working, you were talking, you were working with words, that somehow things are happening in your countries. And then it came this word on several phrases called tax. And there is original content that is made in your countries. Well, here, not so much. And I am wondering if this has to do, and I would like to share your experience about that, with the fact that our tax incentive scheme is not working. It was one of the very late schemes that came into place in 2018. It looked fantastic. It was one of the most interesting ones at that time. But in less than 1 year, out of political and bureaucratical reasons, it went completely blocked. Money were spent in Romania and people were coming like crazy, but they haven't seen any money of the promised money. We are trying with the new politicians in place now to find solutions and to relaunch the scheme, but the recoupment of the money that were spent and promised, it's will be, I suppose, in the end of the day, judged just in court. And for the moment, the Romanian sector, it's kind of locked into the local production or very tiny co-productions, because the country is offering a lot of opportunities, great talent, great creativity, beautiful locations, still very competitive prices, but we don't have the essential element that is bringing everyone there. And actually, Hungary, it's our envy and admiring model in what the tax, the cash rebate scheme brought into the scene of the industry this time, or on the economical side, for the country as well as for the sector. In Italy, you were mentioning, Graziella, all these schemes, regional this time, that are working in favor of the productions and co-productions, not only, I mean, they really attract foreign investment and foreign participation and also creative collaboration for the locals. In Poland, I don't want even to mention all the cross collateral things that happen in between the economical sector, the regional, the fund, the taxes on different players that allows investment. Because in Romania they bought, also as you said, they bought a lot of content, but they were, except for HBO, that was our help not only for series but also for documentaries, investing a lot in local content. They didn't do it. They are not here yet. Do you think that this system, do you feel like me that this system is encouraging and it's at the end of the day not only an economical tool for the economy in big, but also for the development of the local community and local potential? Because there are voices, of course, and we were hearing them, that this, well, these foreigners are coming and they are getting our best technicians, and the local filmmakers will not have people to work with, and we don't need it. It's not. I don't believe. I think it's on the contrary. It's just an extension, it's somewhere midway, but yeah, I would really like you to elaborate a little bit of what do you think these economical measures brought into your countries and the possibilities?
Okay. Just very briefly. I am very glad that that the technicians are working in these service works, because when I meet them again, they are better trained, they are more disciplined, they are used to a certain workflow, what was really a big effort to achieve in Hungary, and they are well paid. So sometimes, because they are really brilliant people, they can commit to themselves to make a Hungarian film for less money, but with their whole heart and their whole talent.
Yeah, this is actually something that we are also facing here, because now, as nothing is happening and the foreign productions are not coming, the technicians, of course, they want the salary that allow them to live, to have a life, and so they are asking also for the local productions the same amount, while if they would be, you know, doing 3 for a living and then 1 for love, they could afford a lower price. But like now that this is not happening, we can understand them somehow. I don't know how it is in other countries.
Just a very brief thing. Here I think those who are sitting will be heads of departments. Mm-hmm. So I know that if I break down to a day wage, I earn less than my first assistant, my editor earns less than the editing assistant, the DOP earns less than the focus puller. That's our future, yeah. But yeah, producers, yeah.
Producers deferring.
That's
the word?
So I think we have to, let's say, accept the realities and enjoy that we will have fun, and we will make our stuff also as sound designers or editors, but not just, I don't speak just of directors. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely.
I definitely agree with you, După, and I hope now I really would love everybody to think and feel the same way. At the same time, we do have to think about public efficiency and administration and why the tax system does not work, and that's what's happening in Italy as well. It has been very, very strongly pushed. It has attracted much investment from abroad, and the Italian industry has really flourished because of this. But now the same thing is happening in Italy. Small companies are closing down because the tax money is not coming in. And so where's the problem? Is it the Ministry of Finance that is not putting forward the money? Is it the administration of Istituto Cinecittà who is managing all the returns that is not efficient enough? Is it the tax that has gone too high? I mean, there is something there that has to be regulated. So that's, it's a big risk for the small companies to stay alive in the system. That is why what I said before is happening. I mean, they're being phagocytated by foreign companies that are allowed to take advantage of this system. Speaking of technicians, I know that in some regions in Italy, in Campania, for example, which is the region of Naples, there is such a flourishing of series, also local productions that are on national television now, that it's impossible to find out anybody. I mean, there's no clue about it, you know? So what do? Do you bring them from other regions, but they're also busy there. Do you train more?
From Romania.
Okay, so let's start exchanging and moving around. I think that has to happen because it is an important industry and it's becoming more and more. And we need to, as you say, curators are so important for the cultural part of it. And along all the chain, you know, I also collaborate in the town where I live with a small theatre, a cinema. And it's a cinema that is in a medieval church. So it's not much bigger than this room. I mean, it has 78 places and 78 seats in it. And you have frescoes on the wall, and there's an altar with a big screen on top. It's high, very high quality 4K, and sound is perfect. And they curate not only the films that we see, but we have the warm herbedy tea and the biscuits in winter, and if you want a blanket, and then there's they have this extraordinary collage in some parts of the world, parts that are not occupied by ancient frescoes. But there's really a love for what you are doing that makes the cinema stay alive, because apart from the obligatory closures during the pandemic, it has never closed one day. You know? It's a personal effort.
Yeah, it's again about community, because it's a community around this place.
Yes, there's a community, and it's an old town that is really almost disappearing because all people go to work somewhere else because there's no active possibility for people to work there. But it's, we call it a presidium, a cultural presidium in the town that keeps it. It's important, and people come from other towns around because they know it's somewhere special. And I think we do have cinemas like that here.
Yeah, so, very few. Very, very few.
Well, questions, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if I hear you at the top.
I just wanted to let you know that there's an important education thing that's going on, which is exactly what you said. The younger generations are coming to theater or film school, which are usually held during the summer. And the thing is, this is, I believe, exactly what you're foreshadowing in a way. It will happen, but not as fast, because we obviously need generations to change and mentalities to change in order to achieve the dream that you're dreaming of. And I'm sure that everybody here is. So yeah, that's all I wanted to. Sorry for busting in. I didn't mean to.
I think that's a super valuable comment, because one thing I really learned the hard way, both in filmmaking and in my recent passion, which is sailing, is that time really changes things. And as long as you're persistent and, the sail that doesn't know where it's going always have a bad wind. So if you know where you're going, you can work with the reality around you. But I don't know if there are any other questions, but I can make a quick comment to what you said about, would platforms or these big players, not to kind of pinpoint platforms, be more interested in coming to Romania if the tax incentive scheme was working? The short answer is yes. But then again, in Poland, the scheme is working, and I'm very happy because it benefits mainly Polish producers, because it was introduced around the time your scheme was introduced, and then pandemic struck and suddenly nobody was traveling, so we got the benefit of using it, and it helped us to find a new financing source at the local market, which was great. But then again, it's coming back to politics and policymakers. And then again, the scheme in Poland is designed that with each year the eligible spend increases. So after 3 first years, now our budgets cannot really match the eligible spend, and the Americans are not coming either. So the only benefactors of this scheme will very soon be broadcasters and platforms. So unwillingly, the public scheme supports, in a way, production for these platforms, and of course it's a tool for everyone, and I think it should be accessible for everyone. But that's the point, it should also be accessible for smaller projects that need only a tiny bit of chunk of that money. And also commenting on what Graciela was saying, in Poland the inflation, when I last checked, it was around 18%. it might have changed from that time. So the prices, the salaries are all increasing, and that's also what's pushing people to work with platforms, because it's financial stability, you know. Guys from Netflix, first of all, they answer your calls, and secondly, when you ask them for a bit of more money and to justify it, they don't ask you to write tons of papers and to wait 6 months. They just transfer the money on the next day, you know, because they believe in your vision, they believe in your project, they believe in you as a producer. You know, you don't have to feel like you're trying to steal their money. Like I often feel in public funds, like I have to really excuse myself why I'm even asking for X amount of money. So I think this is the biggest issue we are facing in terms of economical aspects is cash flow. We have absolutely no tools to cash flow the tax incentive. My company has used the tax incentive several times successfully so far. And we really, the biggest thing we struggled was not the paperwork, was not the institution that is bureaucratic and it has its ways, but it was that we got the money, but we didn't really get it because it was on the escrow account, and we had nowhere to spend it from. And in 2 cases, we relied on our, there were co-productions, so we relied on our German-French partners. But then Confil-Loisir, it's an institution that cash flows productions for French, German, Luxembourgish partners. Confil-Loisir, after the experience of going through the treadmill of Polish bureaucracy, they basically said, we love you, Joanna, but we might wait until, you have maybe clearer rules in place, because we cannot rely on you promising us to give the money back in 6 months, while the institutions you're getting the money from take 9 months to make one decision, So I think it's a very complex system, and I don't think that one thing will change, but then again, as you rightly said, we just have to persist, put pressure, make very clear statements about what we don't like, what could be done better, to phrase it in a positive way. What could be done better, and just work with time.
Just one simple word before anyone thinks that Netflix is the kingdom of freedom.
Yeah. I never said that. I'm talking about my personal experience.
Yeah.
Which was great.
There is and also for author staff there, they just let it go, and for the main staff, no. And also they are human beings, so it depends a lot who is the local representative.
But just for the sake of understanding the level, Poland is a bigger country than Romania, but we are still kind of...
You have more palm doors than we do, so...
Yeah, well, can you remind me? Yeah, more bears.
You personally have more bears.
Than Poland? No.
Oh, okay.
No, I just wanted to ask you for the number of Netflix original done in Poland last year.
It's massive. I mean, really, they are very, very active, which is great. I mean, from a producer's perspective, if you manage to get your foot at the door and you work with the right person. So it's massive. I think they announced something like, they had this big announcement show a couple of weeks back, and I think they've announced like 17 or 18 titles. So our cinematography produces in a weak year, let's say 35, but that's a very weak year, and in a good year, 50 films, and I'm talking about feature-length fiction, and let's say 6 or 7 more that are like made with private money, so let's say around 60. So they are making like a third of national production, plus series, so it's...
Yeah, I think this is relevant. I mean, I was shocked by the level of investment, while it's the only country, basically, from Eastern Europe where they are doing this. I don't know how much is in Hungary today, nothing, 0. Romania, 0. I mean, they come in to complete the financing, they came in a couple of productions, but really couple, like 1, 2. but to generate content, to really finance original content, zero for now. And same, it's happening in all the ex-Yugoslavia.
But you know why is that? Because they have a massive competition, and I think this is also, this is where the, let's say, open market works in our favor, in a way, because until, of course, HBO was axed, which is a disaster from my perspective. Really, I can't understand how such a great talent could go to waste because some guy in America woke up and decided that we will make savings here. Crazy. But they have a lot of competition, you know, they have Canal Plus, they have very strong public TV. I mean, I will not comment on the quality of public TV productions, but it's strong. They have shitloads of money, you know. They have Viaplay entering the market. They have a very strong Polish Film Institute, you know. So they have competition. So they really have to fight for.
That's a very interesting thing, you know, that I will take from here. They have very strong Polish Film Institute, because this, you know, to understand the power actually of in a country like ours also, because Romanian cinema is strong. I mean, I cannot play false modesty, and Romanian cinema is strong. But I feel sometimes that the institution is not feeling how strong they are and how they should stand for their strengths. Backed by, of course, backed by the sector and having them next to them. I think this would be crucial. Questions? Please. Okay, if not, I will launch.
Sorry, some comments. Maybe somebody has some thoughts, guys. You are the viewer.
Ioana, please, Ioana.
So, thank you so much. I don't want to take the floor. I wanted to thank you so much. It's a really brilliant panel. I took so many ideas. One of them is hypermarket with games and films actually very intrigued me a lot, because I'm asking myself if perhaps it wouldn't be smart for the film sector to collaborate more with the IT sector, with the game sector, with the VR sector, and together perhaps we can achieve much more in collaboration, because some of the sectors have the numbers, some of the sectors have the creativity, some of the sectors have some other ingredients, and together we can achieve a holistic policy for everyone that is under this entertainment or edutainment umbrella. And I would love that to happen. And a question would be perhaps, it's a paradox, but in Europe we have a lot of people, it's a population of more than 700 million, while in the US it's only 300 million, and still, when you release a film in the US, okay, perhaps they don't get the profit, but they have a lot of audiences from the first day of the release. And in Europe, it's really impossible to release a Romanian film in the whole Europe in one day. And I was wondering what would be the solution. Because it's really hard, like for a Romanian film, just the dubbing cost sometimes equals the production cost. So what would be if there is any policy that we could create in Europe to facilitate more some kind of a European cultural union? I don't know, like it's an open brainstorming, but if you have any thoughts, it's like really welcome, because this is my current dilemma right now. And if we have this, I think we will have a better short-term and medium-term future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ioana, for this question, because in fact it's the next topic that I wanted to address. Because we look, and I think even as a European politics, we were concentrated in developing and producing content, but we were not really focusing on the means and precisely the money, the costs of distribution, of an efficient distribution. And if you would look in the budgets or of distribution campaigns in Romania, the local money that are invested versus the budget, you will see that we stay at a level of 1–2% of the budget, while an efficient distribution will go to something like 10%. And again, this is not something that is not functioning only here, it's not functioning on a European level, where it's not understood that we need also the money, not only the creativity. We need the creativity to be informal, to be able to cross-promote, to be able to touch on different levels of the society and different communities, but we definitely need the money, and almost nobody is understanding that. That is my comment, and thank you so much for bringing in the matter.
I think that apart from the films they make and the industry, how it's organized, I mean, the United States have the extraordinary fact that they speak one language. No, it's just one language, and it's one language also mentality-wise. I mean, Europe is made up of so many different states, and we are all very different. And if I can advocate Netflix in this sense, now that what it has done is to bring to our houses a whole different community of European films that we were probably not used to seeing. And it has educated, I think it's really being very effective in this, it has educated an audience to watch film in original language with subtitles. I mean, I'm seeing it in my own little house. My husband is Italian, totally Italian, he speaks Italian and does not speak English, does not speak other languages, and he is learning to listen to now Russian, Argentinian, Romanian, Finnish films, English films with subtitles. And so that's education, and it's coming up, also thanks to the streamers. And I think that, well, we as an academy have a responsibility also in promoting European film, you know? Because we do have a common language in the sense of culture and interest, and again, community and understanding. And I think that's that has to bring us together. Why should I be interested in an Icelandic film? Or because it really opens our windows, and as Europeans we're not only ex-conquerors, but we were pushed to learn and to understand, and we have always been opening our boundaries. I remember Alberto Barbera, the director of the Venice Film Festival this year, he made a shocking declaration for all Italians, because he said, there's too many films produced in Italy. We produce 300 films a year. What do you do with that? Who's going to see 300 films a year? Now we only have 365 days in a calendar. Where will they go? What cinemas? So he said provocatively, obviously, let's produce less and better. No? So this is a choice also, it's strategy. It's why are so many films inundated with public money, or not public money, but in any case they're made. And they are, everybody needs to think on what we're doing and cooperate in making things work better.
I can add maybe to what you said, answering the question about the gaming and the merge of industries. I totally feel this is the way, and absolutely we should. I see us as storytellers first and foremost, you know, and you can tell. I'm also a kind of recent gamer. I didn't know the world existed until last year. And it's fascinating, you know, and I think it's, if you combine the ability to tell us an engaging story with a tool that's also immersive, that's something great. I don't understand it, but I think it would be great. But then when it comes to distribution, I think what Matthias was saying earlier is super worth kind of remembering. That we have to see where the audience really is, and we should be maybe a bit less afraid that if our film is not on a big screen in cinema, then it's a less worthy film, you know. With Operation Hyacinth, we had a chance to screen it at the film festivals, we won awards, we won the camera image, etc. So we had this artistic quality and this seal of approval from the filmmakers community that it's a good film. But it would have never ever reached the audience numbers it did if it was not on a streaming platform. So I think it's just a matter of perspective and of, as Anna was saying, of also teaching the audiences or educating the audiences, and this is our role, and not to talk from the from the top, but to kind of in a grassroots way, like Young Audience Awards or the Month of European Film.
I think that is teaching and learning.
Yeah, of course. It's that's what I want to say. It's like a two-way street. That we listen to where the audience is, and we try to find them there, and not to feel like discouraged that somebody is watching our film on a train you know, on their iPhone. I saw that, people watching my film on a train on their iPhones, and I was like so excited. I took a picture and I sent it to the director and said, guys, what kind of, you know, we reached the audience. Like, really, people are watching our film when they want to watch a film. So accessibility is key, but of course that influences the whole financing structure, which will have to be completely redefined. And we come back to policy and lawmakers, and that's it, you know, that's a full circle.